On my part, because sometimes they drop a few things here and there, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's necessary for it to be said, to be put on the record, just in case, so that when you get it, it ain't a surprise. Excuse me. The following is an interview with one called Mr. C, S-E-A, regarding alleged New World Order plans for the U.S. and its citizens. This is being posted as a point of information. We have seen video of the Indiana facility mentioned, and it does appear to accurately fit the description in this interview. We are seeking your help to determine the authenticity of the claims of the intended use of this facility as described in the following story. In the spring of 1997, senior editor Professor Ian Stewart met with Mr. C, real name withheld, to discuss what he has learned firsthand about the coming persecution at the hands of the New World Order operatives. With a 7-inch thick portfolio filled with photographs, news articles, correspondences, etc., Mr. C revealed disturbing information about New World Order efforts to destroy and enslave America. The following are some of Mr. C's comments, but first let's take a look at the man who made the comments. Mr. C is a former inspector for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Department of Defense, with 31 years of federal service, 22 in the military, 9 with the Department of Defense, including 2 years with the Air Force staff. He's a holder of the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 3 awards for the Joint Service Medal, all of the Vietnamese awards that can be given, as well as the Joint Meritorious Unit Medal. Now, if he's anything, and if he is who I think he is, because they don't say who he is, he's Bo Grice. All right? Now, I don't know where this video is going to go, but I got to talk to my family. And it's all right. Hit that off for just a minute. This is between us. I promise we could get right back to it. Yeah. Being a citizen, beloved, you are not a citizen. You, after Dred Scott, you should have gotten a clue. There are laws in books right now. There are laws that was instituted back in slave days. Laws that gave you chattel slavery, that had you as a chattel slave. That's why you were 1/6 of a man. And you didn't understand why you were 1/6 of a man. It's not because they considered you less than human. They had to do that because you were the majority population on the United States of America during that time. Between you, the Native Americans, they had to devalue you within the 13 states. They had to make your vote 1/6 that of a white man's. So only three black men or 6 black men had to vote where 1 black man had to vote, because they understood that you all were in the majority, and you could not have that much say-so in in 13 colonies that you had nothing to do with setting up. Though you did have the beginning stages of giving them their constitution through Benjamin Ibrahim, who you call Benjamin Banneker. He's the one who sat there, that little black man you see in the back of the $2 bill. He was the one responsible for helping these people who came from a feudal system. Ain't know nothing. They didn't know they're behind from their elbow about constitutional laws. They went and sat in the six nation longhouses of the Confederacy, the Mohawk and the Iroquois Confederacy, and learned how to draft the Constitution for themselves. But listen to this too, brothers and sisters. The Constitution has nothing to do with your rights. It was a contract trade agreement between the nation states called the United States. That's all it is. All these things about your rights means that you have to be free to be able to trade between nations. You have to be a nation to be able to call upon the Constitution for anything. You are not a nation. You are a conquered people. You are chattel slavery. You are chattel slaves. That's how they see you. Now, when you got the Emancipation Proclamation, that was a begrudging thing that Lincoln had to do, because the international bankers are what gave you that. Now, let me give you a little bit of a history before I get back to this situation here. And let me put you right about what this whole thing is around what you believe is happening in your country and what is really happening in your country and how it started. All right, now listen to this very carefully. In 1400, brothers and sisters, European power centers, all the European power centers coalesce into two camps. The two camps are called the Ghibellines, Ghibellines, who supported the Emperor's Hohenstaufen family. Okay, listen carefully. And the Guelphs, Guelphs. These are the two factions in 1400s that Europe secretly divided into. This was the money. This was the power. All right? Don't believe the hype and the nonsense that you're getting about European history and American history. That's for the cattle to assimilate. It has nothing to do with reality. Now, the Guelphs, who are from Welf, W-E-L-F, the German prince who competed with Frederick for the control of the Holy Roman Empire. The Pope allied himself with the Guelphs, Guelphs. All modern history stems directly from the struggle between these two powers. Let me repeat that. All modern history stems from a struggle that goes on today between these two powers. The Guelphs are also called the Neri, N-E-R-I. They were also called the Black Guelphs, as well as the black nobility, and supported William of Orange in his seizure of the throne from England, which eventually resulted in the formation of the Bank of England and the East India Company, which would rule the world from the 17th century. All coups d'etats, all revolutions, all wars in the 19th and 20th centuries are centered in the battle of the Guelphs to hold and enhance their power, which is now to become the New World Order. The power of the Guelphs would extend through the Italian financial centers to the north of France in a place called Lombardy. All Italian bankers are referred to as Lombards, because Lombards actually in German means deposit bank. And the Lombards were bankers to the entire medieval world. They would later transfer operations north to Hamburg, then to Amsterdam, and then finally to London. The Guelphs would start the slave trade to the colonies. The Guelphs, in order to aid their control of finance and politics, would perpetuate Gnostic cults, which eventually developed into the Rosicrucians, the Unitarians, the Fabian Society, and the World Council of Churches. The East India Company, together with John Stuart Mill, would finance the University of London. A friend of Mill, George Grote, would give the University of London £6,000 to study mental health, which would begun the worldwide mental health campaign and program. Now, I'm just letting you know, in the beginning stages of what I'm about to say, what is actually happening behind the scenes. And I'm bringing you up to snuff at this point. When he retired, this is Mr. C. When he retired a few years ago, he was awarded the Secretary of Defense Civilian Service Medal. He's been around the world to 31 different countries, to 4 continents, and speaks 5 languages. Mr. C spoke to the coming American Holocaust of the government's plans for dealing with the non-New World Orderites. He spoke of the infrastructure that has already been set up to incarcerate and execute Americans, and the location of the facilities that would be used for the purpose, all with photographs, leaving little to the imagination. The infrastructure is set up. There are at least 130 concentration camps, quietly modified facilities which have sprung up and continue to spring up across the country, seemingly devoid of activity, yet requiring strange accoutrements, such as barbed wire fences with the tops turned inward, and helicopter windstocks. Most have good logistical supportability, with major highways and railroad transport facilities adjacent to the sites. Now, I'm not very familiar with Philadelphia, but wherever there is a place, a large facility where you see railroads right next to it, that will be the internment place before they ship you where they're going to ship you. There are 3 helicopter 25-knot aviation windsocks, which aren't the correct ones to use for chemical spills, which require only 10-knot windsocks. There are high-security NSA, that's National Security Agency-style people turnstiles, and high-intensity security lighting for 24-hour operation. The boxcar, or gas chamber, building fence is marked with special red-blue zone signs. This corresponds to the mission of the red-blue lists, which surfaced in June and July of 1996. Under martial law, which we are already, this will become a death camp. They're only going to handle Category 1 and 2 red and blue people there. This boxcar facility will be used for execution. One of the barns is large enough to put 4 boxcars into. There are powered vents on the top of the barn to vent the gas out of the building after the boxcars have been fumigated. All of the buildings have newly installed 6-inch pipes, gas pipes and furnaces installed in all the railroad barns. Since the photo was taken in August of 1994, FEMA has allocated $6 million to make the walls and the roofs of the buildings airtight. Under martial law, this facility could be immediately used as an SS-style termination gas chamber. On January 27, 1995, the Indianapolis News ran an article titled, "Amtrak Lays Off 212 at the Beech Grove facility. 170 lose jobs at maintenance center today." Now, why perform $6 million worth of renovations and then lay off 212 people? Because the people who are doing the final executions will not be Americans. Thus, the slots of the 212 will be filled by non-Americans. They'll hire foreigners for this capo, or which is Italian for chief. Matter of fact, well, I'll break it down for you. The news article said, hopes the yard may be able to solicit work repairing private train cars and perhaps subway cars from Washington, D.C. or other urban areas. Now, this is what the news said. There are hopes that this thing will deal with private train cars. The repairing of private train cars is a dead giveaway that they are death cars. The article went on to say, late last year, Congress ordered Amtrak to spend at least $5.9 million patching holes in the roof and fixing masonry on the walls of the giant machine sheds at Beech Grove. These buildings have been sealed. They're airtight. The faculty is constructed to allow gas to be blown in to all the buildings via a newly constructed 2-story hot air furnace. Next, Mr. C elaborated on the 2 categories, the red and blue lists, and what they mean. The red list is for pickup and execution before unobtrusive preparations for martial law are initiated. The blue is also for execution, but at a later date, within 6 weeks of martial law declaration. There are no re-education plans for either category. When you get picked up on a red pickup list, they'll take you from your home at night, most likely at 4 a.m., and put you in the black van, then drive you to a helicopter waiting to fly you to an intermediate point. There you'll be loaded onto a big 64-passenger CH-47 Chinook helicopter, all black, unmarked, and illegally operating under something called the Treaty of Open Skies. Then they'll fly you to one of the 38 cities where you'll board a 747, a 737, or a 727. You'll be taken straight to a temporary detention facility. When you're red listed, you'll be taken to the red camp. Then you'll be executed. At some point, martial law will be declared. Martial law is when the writ of habeas corpus to have a trial by jury is suspended. Instead of going to the judge, you go straight to jail for a limited time. I suspect there will be a major outrage or some other crisis which will be the reason to declare martial law. Economic crisis is part of it, and that's what we're headed to. This so-called stock market is getting ready to hit bottom. At that time, the country will be regionalized into 10 regions, which are already been designated by FEMA. Now be advised that it has been proven in Wyoming and at least one other location that the black choppers have state-of-the-art radio frequency wideband jammers and can jam cell phones and CDs while they're executing black operations missions in your area. This means that your cell phone could be jammed just before and or during action is taken against you. In June of 1996, an FBI agent got hold of the Region 3 Blue List from a CIA agent and found his own name on it, and those of several others he knew in Virginia. The Regional Blue List stated that the names on the Blue List could be picked up within 6 weeks of the actual martial law declaration. This parallels the Nazis' Red and Blue List policy almost to the letter. The parallel Nazi plan was published by Heinz Holm in his 1966 book, The Story of the Nazi SS, which I would suggest you pick that book up and read it. It's called The Story of the Nazi SS, The Order of the Death's Head. Now, it says people say it won't work, but it will work if 300,000 Soviet troops are already here on your soil. The name of the game is to blackmail the people or blackball the people and to get their guns. This is the crap that Clinton was trying to get you to believe when he had some agent provocateurs killing black folks in this community, black folks with the chips in their head, starting a war with us in this community, killing children, so that we would then see the horror of having a pistol in your house. Now the first thing I told people was, don't believe the hype. If you got a gun, you teach the child how to use the gun. Only an ignorant child would shoot themselves. You take that boy out into the woods, you take that girl out into the woods, and you show them to respect this weapon. And then you show them who the enemy is.
That's right.
But you do not, you damn sure do not hand it over for a Mickey D hamburger. Now, this guns for freedom, guns for this, that's a lot of nonsense. That's the New World Order. Now, they did it to over there in Czechoslovakia. You see what's going on over there they call ethnic cleansing? Well, they got them people to give up their guns. And that's why this country has not yet gone under New World Order, and it took this long, because everybody got a gun. And when they signed, they actually took a list of all the brothers and sisters who are in the military, and they asked them, would they fire upon American citizens? At least 68% of them said no. So they had to ship those folks overseas. Most of them were not supposed to come back from the Gulf War. The Gulf War was to exterminate our people. Bush sent those boys over there after he met with Saddam Hussein at one of their meetings of the Bohemian clubs over here in Southern California. The Bohemian Club, which meets in every June or July, where all the enemies, quote unquote, get together to party. Just, you saw it in Animal House. The Toga Party, that's how they do it. Well, Saddam Hussein and your boy Bush, the oil diriges that's off of the place on, what's the name of that place over there, where they went, Kuwait? That's where Bush was processing his drugs. You got to understand that Saddam Hussein, all these people, why do you think Saddam Hussein's still alive and around? He's playing the game, brothers, sisters. He's part of it. The idea was to get most of the young of our country over here, over there, and then through chemical warfare, have them bring back the disease over here. They did it. There are people in jail now who can't get a trial because they refused to take the anthrax injection before they went over there. They were court-martialed for not taking the vaccination. That was part of the precursor to breaking them down for the Gulf War syndrome, to have your children retarded and crazy and with one leg, to destroy the next generation. Most of those kids were not supposed to come back.